Hi everyone, my name is Andrew Velasquez. I'm a professional hair and makeup artist based out of the Los Angeles market. I've been in the industry for over 20 years. I own a salon in Glendale, California. I also have been featured on a show called American Beauty Star as a top 3 contender. And I still do weddings, I still do events. I have also been teaching at Cinema Makeup School as a professional instructor for the past 8 years now. I love teaching at that school because it is, again, just like Dermaflage, a perfect hybrid of beauty, high fashion, and effects all combined in one umbrella. So I'm very excited to motivate you future professionals and you future key artists and make sure that everyone is comfortable and knowledgeable of all things complexion. I am very passionate about making people feel glamorous. I am obsessed with skin because that is the largest feature when it comes to doing a makeup, and complexion is the one thing that I feel every makeup artist should master. That way you are more confident and aware of just all the different conditions that are going on. Specifically in our climate nowadays, I think being all-inclusive and making sure that you are knowledgeable of your more fair clients, medium olive tones, and your darker African American clients is super essential. That way you're more of a well-rounded artist and you're just ready to tackle on any situation. I'm also very passionate about education and sharing knowledge and technique, and this is why I'm so excited to be here with you all at the makeup show with Dermaflage. I come across skin conditions and skin issues or challenges all the time. Things that I think are more common here in my Los Angeles market would be darker pigmentation, melasma, pop marks, skin texture. Sometimes people are insecure about a tattoo that they regret and they want to cover that. I think this brand is super innovative because you are taking elements of beauty, high fashion, and effects and combining them together. So it's a perfect marriage of all genres when it comes to makeup, and it really treats so many different conditions, but also just like really cool effects when it comes to the topical filler and experimenting with those products as well. So let's get started. I'm right here with my beautiful model, Amanda Terry. Say hello.
Hi everyone.
Also known as Makeup by Mandy, and we are here with Dermaflage. So excited to walk you through these amazing products. Our focus today is perfecting the complexion. Covering tattoos can be challenging at times because it's more than one step. You have to prep the area and clean the skin. It has to be completely dry and matte, powdered down first. You have to color correct by using red oranges on top of the actual tattoo, wherever it's at, because regardless of any tattoo, it still has a blue kind of green undertone. So using that warmer color corrective cream is gonna neutralize it. And then on top of that, you go back with the actual skin tone, and that's gonna cover the color correction technique. So it's a couple steps that are gonna really be challenging at first, but the more you do it, the better you're gonna get at it and the more confident you are gonna be about covering tattoos. Depending on the person and their complexion and their undertones, you're really gonna have to tailor it and customize it and use your palette to apply more than just one color to really perfect it for that specific scenario. Sometimes if they're more on the fair side, I do have to add a little bit of yellow because too much red orange is obvious and it looks like a bruise. So I do find that I have to mix and perfect it prior to actually just attacking and color correcting when it comes to covering all of that area. And your goal is to make it look like it's seamless, like it's not on the skin and there's not another surface, a layer of product sitting on that. This is the actual tattoo concealer palette. You're getting that extra rust color to actually neutralize and cover the tattoo. It's not gonna move. It is transfer resistant. It's not gonna smudge. So once you get it on and you correct the actual tattoo only, it's not gonna go anywhere and you're actually gonna be needing the multitask remover to remove it. So this stuff is amazing. Some other great facts about this is that for your brides, it's not gonna come off. It's completely waterproof. They can wear their beautiful white dress and it's not gonna transfer onto their clothes or anybody else if they're giving hugs. It is not going anywhere, you guys. So definitely a key item for weddings as well. So we're gonna go ahead and pick up our tattoo concealer palette in the medium shades. The first step you want to do is prep this area. So I'm just going to take a little bit of 99% alcohol and remove any kind of natural oils. I sometimes like to use just the smallest amount of powder. So I'm going to use the banana powder to remove and de-shine. These are all just little pro tips that I think are helpful. Next step is to take your spatula and the rust color, and we're going to put that onto the palette. And honestly, sometimes I'm going to use the other side of this spatula. We'll just use the spatula directly to control the area and the amount of product that I'm using, because this is going to dry. Just using a small brush that's the size of a finger to kind of feather around it and keeping it on the tattoo only. Next, I'm going to use my pinky to just kind of really melt it on. And if you are in a hurry, another pro tip is to use a blow dryer to speed up the process. And I can already tell that it's starting to dry by just touching it. Little fan there to dry it out. I'm just doing a touch test to make sure that none of the product is lifting, and it's not. So that means it's ready for the concealer palette. There's a lighter shade on top to hide all of the corrective work. This way. So again, I'm going to pick up some of that product, place it on here, and then I'm going to actually use the spatula again to apply the concealer to keep it focused on just the area that we covered. Now I'm going to use a brush. Almost done, guys. Now I'm just going to take my finger and blend these edges slightly. Wow, it's like it's not even there.
This will be good for modeling gigs.
Yeah. I would still use this. If I were to use airbrush, I would still use this underneath it. And then airbrush is just like your finisher on top, because it'll help with like this little demarcation right here that developed. Yeah, the airbrush basically pulls it all together and ties in all the shades around it, so it just really looks like nothing is there. All right, you guys, so we're gonna wait for this to dry, and then we're gonna do a little test to see if it lasts and it does not come off. So I'm just gonna fan it out slightly, and so far it looks good to me. So to test that it's water resistant, I have my spray water bottle over here. I'm just gonna spray it. So sorry, you're gonna get cold. And you can actually see the water driplets like landing on there, but it's not even like coming off. Water. This is a test, you guys. No makeup. Here, I'll use a smaller area. One more time. Water. No makeup. It works. There's no transfer. It's waterproof. So there's no need for powder. There's no need for anything to set it. This is good to go. We did it. Give me a thumbs up. I'm going to begin with priming, hydrating, and treating all of the skin conditions before we actually approach any kind of makeup or cosmetics. I think it's really important to understand the anatomy of the skin and know what you're dealing with prior to adding anything on top. When it comes to perfecting the complexion, it varies in different aspects. So the first is really understanding the skin conditions. Is it a normal to dry, normal to oily combination? Is it acne prone? And then just really analyzing the texture and the finish of what it looks like to you in person. So you really have to be super detailed in observing all those parts of the face. And then after you address the skin condition, then you address the skin tones and the undertones. And that's where you really master and marry the two techniques in perfecting the complexion. Whether they are warm, cool, and then just understanding all the different skin tones that they have throughout their face, their body. You really have to analyze all those tones and marry them together to perfect each situation, because every person comes from a different background, different ethnicity, and dermatology is all inclusive. So we really pride in addressing all skin tones, whether you're super fair or very dark complected or medium and olive tone as well. Always practice our sanitation as we have been quarantining during this COVID time, but we are not wearing the masks at the moment because we have been with one another throughout this time frame. So, but sanitizing is a must, and making sure that we practice all of those steps as well. So the first step is to start with Dermaflage Multitask Makeup Remover. Not only is it a great makeup remover, but also it's a great skin care product because you can also prime with it. The ingredients that are loaded with it are not only antioxidants, but jojoba oil. So it's not an oil that's gonna cause any kind of breakouts or build up or clog your pores. It's actually gonna be hydrating and make you produce less oil, so you're gonna be less shiny throughout the day. So it's definitely a staple right here. So although Amanda is not wearing any makeup at the moment, I think it's really important to still begin with something like this as basically your primer. You can use tissue or cotton swabs, and just a couple drops of this goes a long way. Obviously, this is also an amazing makeup remover, so this would be something that you could use at the end of the day, at night, removing all of the dead skin. But that's basically my goal right now, is to just really get the skin ready and prepared for the priming and the conditioning. I always remove the neck and the oils around the décolletage as well. That way everything is nice and consistent and you don't really see any kind of line or demarcations. So the main moisturizing elements of the good skin are hyaluronic acid and squalene, which are amazing because it's gonna hydrate, but also help kind of plump the skin. So it's good for all ages as well. So it's gonna moisturize and really seal and get the skin nice and ready, so it really absorbs the makeup properly. And you as a makeup artist have more control in being able to blend because they're gonna work together synergistically. I just love the feeling of it. No, it feels good, it's gonna be hydrating, and it's not gonna feel greasy or really heavy feeling on your face for people that are sensitive or normal to oily. So it really addresses like all skin types, which is what I really enjoy about it. And instantly as I'm feeling it, like it's brightening and tightening at the same time. Primers are definitely essential when it comes to large pores. It will help. It's not going to completely cover it and create a new layer of skin, but it is, at the end of the day, going to marry and work synergistically with whatever foundation, cream foundations you're going to use on top of that. So it does help, and it does create like a subtle filtering or blurring effect. Specifically, it's if it's a silicone base or silica base. But again, once you kind of go up close, like you'll still be able to see it slightly when it comes to certain angles. Matte powders are going to be ideal to kind of minimize that and make it look like it's not there. I would say this is the secret right here, your topical filler. This is a great way to literally fill in that large pore and create a new layer of skin. It doesn't matter the amount of creams that you use or powders. It almost acts like a stencil sometimes, and too much powder makes it look more obvious to me, in my opinion. So I think, again, priming, moisturizing, and then using products that are innovative like Dermaflage and the topical filler to actually create a new layer of skin is gonna be really the only way to do that and correct it completely without going like to a plastic surgeon, in my opinion. This I'm gonna be using on a palette, and I think about a pea-size amount is sufficient enough. You can use your fingers if you're working on yourself. You can use a sponge if it's disposable. But for makeup artistry purposes and for just practicing sanitation, I'm going to be using a brush. Dot down the center of the face and underneath the eyes, specifically on the smile line. So what I love about this is that it's not going to cause any breakouts. It's going to mirror and work synergistically with the concealer that Dermaflage makes, as well as the mineral loose powder. And together, they're really going to perfect the skin. And when I start to condition and prime, I'm already observing the conditions of Amanda's skin or whoever it is that I'm working on. So definitely everyone has different skin tones all over throughout our face, and that could be hereditary, it could be genetic. It is a number of things that can affect the way our skin appears. And underneath her eyes, it is a little bit darker, and that's definitely genetic. It's pigmented into the skin. So we have to color correct, close your eyes, by priming first, and then using the proper yellows and oranges to neutralize the purple and blue undertones that tend to happen there, specifically when we're dehydrated or tired, right? Not that you are, but I mean, sometimes that's where you can really see it, is through the eyes, so. All right, so stay tuned because we are gonna move on to the next step, but I just wanted to make sure that I walk you through the proper sanitation, hydration, and priming. When I've encountered skin conditions that have a lot of acne or rosacea or active acne and just need a lot of care when it comes to treating their skin first, I really take the time to moisturize, exfoliate, prep, almost treat it like a mini facial, to be honest with you, because the more you treat the skin condition, the better your makeup is gonna look. Then I attack the condition and the actual challenge. So when it comes to pigmentation or rosacea or just different issues, I use color corrective techniques to minimize that and neutralize it, and then I work with the skin all over. And using products that are mineral based and a loose powder for me is ideal because it's gonna really perfect it and make it look airbrushed without having to pack on a full coverage liquid foundation or a full coverage cream base and then a full coverage powder on top of that. Attacking the condition, the challenge, after you've hydrated properly, and then setting it with a loose mineral powder is gonna be the best way. All right, so once we have addressed the conditions of the skin and primed it and moisturized, we are ready to correct. So we have the color corrector, you guys. This has your beautiful yellow, green, and rust color, which are gonna address the skin conditions underneath the eyes, filled with antioxidants, which are extremely rich and good for the skin, so it's not just gonna correct, but it's actually healthy as well. Then you wanna use the concealer on top of that. So it has your traditional green to reduce redness for rosacea. It has your traditional yellow, which is gonna brighten instantly for the under eye area, specifically for Amanda's condition. And then you have the more warm reddish kind of orange, which is gonna be great for tattoo coverage, which we are gonna be using as an example to cover this tattoo right over here. So we're really gonna address a lot of skin conditions and a lot of skin examples. This product is gonna be amazing because it's gonna just make it look erased like a walking real life filter without the Photoshop. What I love about this is that I know my photographers, my videographers or directors are gonna appreciate it a little bit more because you're really paying attention to the detail in person, in live, versus post and Photoshop fixing after. So I think that's an important factor too. Some do's and don'ts and some pro tips for you guys when it comes to correcting the under eye area, specifically dark circles. Number one, you want to hydrate and use a proper moisturizer as well as a primer, maybe even specifically an eye cream that's gonna help address some of the thinness around the eye area because it is a lot thinner, and when you are more dehydrated, you notice it in the eye area. Number two, minimal product. You want to avoid packing it on and just putting on a full coverage underneath the eyes, because think about your most expressive feature. It's gonna be this area right here. When you're sad, when you're happy, like it's all in this area. So the more movement you have going on with these emollient products, the more it's gonna naturally shift and move throughout the day. And then the most important is setting it with a mineral loose powder that's extremely refined and not heavy. That's not gonna look cakey throughout the day as well. When it comes to darker complexions, like my Indian clients and my African American clients, I definitely stay away from anything that's too olive or too green because it can look ashy. So you want to focus on more warmer tones and just really, again, hydrate, prime. And I would also recommend doing like a test swatch. Maybe just turn them to the side. Take 3 shades that you feel kind of match their skin tone, and treating the under eye area, you want to go at least 1 shade lighter because this is where you want to kind of create that illusion that the darkness is not there. So sticking to warmer shades, kind of like apricot-y, red orangey shades. But again, the darker they are, the more you want to avoid. Even yellow at times could look very ashy on a darker complexion. So those are my do's and don'ts and pro tips when it comes to dark circles and dark complexion. I'm gonna use the spatula to pick up some of the yellow and the orange for the under eye area. And then I'm gonna go in with Amanda's skin tone on top to cover the corrective product. So I think a smaller brush is gonna be ideal, or you could use the foundation brush that we used originally. But I think I'm gonna go with a more detailed shape. So something like this would be ideal. Go ahead and mix those yellow and orange tones. And depending on how fair your model is, how much you're gonna use of each. So I'm probably gonna start with more of the yellow one. And then adjust as I continue. So as you can see, I'm doing a stippling technique and just dabbing underneath the eye around the tear duct area, which is really where the darkness is, right?
The blue. It's
yeah.
like a blue.
So if you can just close your eyes, Amanda, and then, so now I'm using more of the orange, the reddish orange shade. So more of the yellow underneath up to the temple, above the cheekbones, and then more of the red, yellow, orange around the tear duct, which is where more of the blue undertones are. Look at how instantly you can see her beautiful eye color. It's instant eye brightening effect. So a slight stipple up to the cheekbone, and then more of the orange on the inner corner.
So why wouldn't you put the orange under the eye, Andrew?
Specifically underneath the eye because it's gonna look too warm, and you have more of the blue undertones around the tear duct area where it's the darkest, I believe. And then the yellow, I think, is gonna kind of create this lift.
Okay.
Yeah. I like this flat top brush. I'm gonna go in and just give it an all over blend. Close your eyes for me. So this makes it look airbrushed. I do enjoy a mineral loose powder for the under eye area. I would just say to use your cap to dispense the amount of product, and maybe a smaller brush that's like the size of a finger that's specifically for eyeshadow, so you can really control how much product you're applying and you're not just caking it on. But I find that this product, the banana powder, is extremely refined, and because it is a little bit of a foundation, the smallest amount of this product goes a long way. So you're minimizing and you're maximizing your usage too. All right, you guys, moving on to the Dermaflage Behind the Scenes Concealer. This is the medium shade, and there's 3 shades in each palette. So the key to this product and the benefits are that it's full pigment, full coverage, and there's not really any need for a setting powder. This is good as is by itself. It can even cover a tattoo. Like, that's how powerful this guy is. When it comes to cream concealers, I really look at the consistency and how manageable it is to layer and build the coverage. Because if I can use it on its own without diluting it with like a moisturizer, then that's essential, because then that tells me that I can create and build medium coverage to a full coverage, specifically for areas that have a lot of texture, for example, the under eye area. After hydrating and using an eye cream and priming it, then I can control the amount of product that I'm gonna apply with the cream concealer. So I don't really like anything that's too liquidy because it moves too much. I need it to stipple and I need to set. A little bit like an SFX kind of approach, I think, is the way I address that. I am gonna go back with this larger brush. And this is kind of gonna go all over everything. Beautiful. So again, just really understanding the skin conditions that you are addressing, and making sure that you take your time with your conditionings, primers, moisturizers. And so yeah, making sure that you bring it down to the jawline, the neck. You never want to see where it starts and stops. It should look like it's authentic and not sitting on the surface. All right, we're moving on. So after all your emollient products, after your cream products, you are now going to set it, even though it's not necessary to set it, but of course with Dermaflage, we definitely want to have that extra security blanket. And so made in the shade loose powder is amazing because it does have the antioxidants. you have your full coverage, you have your pigmentation. It's gonna be basically like a liquid foundation, but in a mineral loose powder form. It's not gonna cause any kind of breakouts or buildup. It's also sweat proof, so for anybody that is extremely shiny or oily, it's not gonna shift. And I love taking a smaller brush like this to even just kind of touch up around areas like the nose or little blemishes, because it does give you that coverage in it by itself. A little bit of this product goes a long way. Always use your cap to kind of dispense and control the amounts that you are adding, but there's no need for a liquid foundation. This is all you need. So it's not really a full coverage at this point. We are just kind of treating and spotting areas. Now we're gonna go in with the Maiden Shade mineral loose powder, which is actually your foundation. So this is gonna help not only set everything, but also finish your complexion and perfect it. So let's go ahead and begin that. How do you feel, Amanda?
I feel great. I'm really excited about this because this is something that I've been insecure about for not only as a makeup artist, because you know my face is my billboard, but also with modeling. You know, I just feel really insecure about my pigmentation, and I'm just really happy that there's something now on the market that I'm able to take care of without going under the needle.
I love that. Yeah, and the better your skin looks, the better you're gonna feel, the better you're able to attack your world and just take over every situation you are in, right? So with perfect skin will equal confidence. So I'm happy that you were able to share your story and your personal experience when it comes to your journey and foundation, right?
Well, thanks to Dermaflage, we're good now.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm using a flat kabuki style brush just to kind of really blend it out. And I love using a stippling technique. Again, this powder is buildable. Right now I'm starting with just one coat. And so I'm only working on her right side, but then I'm gonna shift her position and work on her left side as well. I'm gonna add a little bit more product to the cap. You can use a palette if you prefer, or you can just work directly off the cap. But as you can see, she had a little red blemish right over here, and just instantly the mineral powder is just covering all of that up, which is fantastic. How does it feel going on?
It doesn't feel like anything.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I don't like when it feels like super heavy.
Or when you feel like you just have a bunch of stuff on your face, like...
You want to almost like scratch it off.
Exactly, exactly.
I think it's important, whatever you do to the face, that you address also to the neck and the jawline. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring some of that down. That way there's no line of demarcation and we have a clean, consistent skin tone. Sometimes for editorials, we do have like a shot where you model. So a lot of the posing will have like the hand in there. So I'll add actually just like a small amount of that too. So there's some consistency. When it comes to oily complexion, I definitely start with a makeup wipe and just cleanse and prep by removing a lot of the natural oils that they are producing. And then I go in and hydrate with a water-based moisturizer and use a proper primer. And I would say just keeping the emollient products at a minimal level and then maybe focusing more on the mineral loose powders. That way it's really controlling the shine. And then just something like a touch-up powder or an invisible setting powder throughout the day to touch up whenever it gets a little bit shiny is very helpful too. All right, D-Shine, you guys. This is the Dermaflage banana-based powder. It has that beautiful yellow tone to highlight. It's gonna de-shine, it's gonna minimize pores. It's a great product to use to touch up throughout the day, and it's not gonna build up or look cakey. It doesn't really have like a reflect to any kind of flash photography. It really looks like skin, and if you wanna feel it with me, just touch the top.
Ooh, it's so sweet.
Very refined, and it's just like very like little butter kisses on the face. So definitely one of the favorites and one of the staples. Your powder that you should use all the time, D-Shine. All right, so once we have perfected her foundation, we are now gonna move on to the D-Shine, mainly for the T-zone. And I'm just gonna use my cap as my little dispenser. I'm gonna use a brush that's smaller, that's the size of like a thumb. And then you're gonna look up, and I'm just gonna gently start to tap this underneath the eyes up to the temple above the cheekbone. And then just a light wash, quoting close, on the eyelids as well. And so again, this is gonna set, this is gonna de-shine, but also give you a nice luminosity and healthy kind of glow where it doesn't look like you're wearing so much powder and product. Because it doesn't actually.
It doesn't feel like anything.
Really nice. One of my favorite complexions to create is a dewy complexion because it's your most true kind of natural skin. When you look at skin, it's never perfectly matte. Although I like to look more matte because it just smooths out. It's like a natural filler. But in real life, in person, having a dewy complexion is going to look a little bit more natural and authentic and just more of a glowy, healthier, kind of illuminating effect. So I think that's very complimentary for like a red carpet, a bridal makeup, something that's shot, you know, on location at a beach. Maybe if it's like a swimsuit or a fitness kind of editorial, I think a dewy complexion is very appropriate for sure. Some of the techniques that I use to create a dewy complexion are, number one, my Good Skin Corrective Cream as your primer and your moisturizer. This is amazing because it's going to just really address a lot of the skin conditions and prep it before you actually put on any kind of makeup. So the dewiness really starts with your good cream, so using this, and then using anything that is emollient and extremely rich, so creams. So something like this Skin Glow Balm is ideal because it does have an luminosity and it's not going to be super dehydrating or dry looking. And then also when it comes to powders, using a powder that is also illuminating. So like our banana powder is a perfect example that you could use to set. So these two together I think would be a perfect match for a dewy complexion. I think keeping minimalistic products are ideal. I like to stay away from like a full coverage liquid foundation and focus more on just a concealer, spotting, anything that's really rich and dewy above the cheekbones and the temples as well. Something that the light's going to catch and reflect as they are walking down, whether it's outdoors or on a location. And just making the skin look healthy, fresh, and just not really made up or cakey. My approach when it comes to highlight and contouring is thinking as a photographer or almost as like a painter. So I do begin with my highlighting shades and I will start in the center of the face and really focus on the areas that I want the camera to pull and the light to reflect off of. So that's going to be down the center of the nose, underneath the eyes to open up that area, the temples, underneath the brow to just kind of create this beautiful halo. And then when it comes to contouring, it's really the perimeter of the face. So I try to think of where the sun would naturally hit, and if there was a light, what shadows would be casting because of that effect. So obviously that's going to be like the hairline, the underneath the cheekbone, the jawline. So it just really depends on the face shape that you're working with too, but the two combined together when it's done properly, the end result is beautiful and you can really lose up to like 5 pounds. So lit from within, this is this beautiful trio and you can see all these gorgeous colors. After you have perfected the complexion, you now need to go in and add a little bit of glow, a little bit of highlight, a little bit of healthiness and dewiness. And this is the product for you. So it's gonna give you a skin glow. It's gonna give you a luminosity, not as glittery or as large as particles. It's gonna be more natural and authentic. So if you are looking for that extremely dramatic highlight, then you want to use this lighter one to build and add the reflects. Because by itself, it's very sheer, it's sheen, and it's not gonna look too heavy. But then you also have this gorgeous warm tone that's a beautiful blush. So it's multitasking. I sometimes like to throw a little bit on the lip. I call this my express product. So if I ever have like a bride, I focus more time on her. And then for her bridesmaids or her mom, this is a great product because I have all these 3 items in one that can address different features of the face. Eyeshadow, cheek, lips, boom. Try this out, you guys. So Skin Glow Balm, I'm going to use my spatula to pick up some of the product because we want to practice sanitation. So I'm going to start with the lighter shade and just place it onto the palette over here that Amanda is holding. Thank you. And then we have that gorgeous bronze shade which has my name all over it. I can't wait to put that on myself. And then this beautiful warm corally shade. But I just, again, love to use brushes. So I'm going to start down the bridge of the nose for a highlight above the Cupid's bow. Everyone loves that nice little plumped volume lip. So that's how you create that illusion, is by adding this shine on top. And then for placement above your cheekbone, you're going to take your brush and just measure it to the tip of the nose. And you basically just tap that highlight all in that area. So it kind of goes underneath the eye too, which is why it's key to stipple and not smear, because we have all these other products underneath and we don't want to disturb any of that. So I'm very minimalistic when it comes to the brush. Now I'm going to be using the bronzer shade, and this is going to be my contouring product. So now the two together work to create this illusion of structure and just enhance her anatomy, to just kind of pull forward and then also recede, and the two together, like I said earlier, will make you look like you lost 5 pounds if you highlight and contour properly. So we've addressed the highlight, the contour, the cheekbones, the jawline. Now we need some blush. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the last of this trio and just bounce it on the apples of her cheek. Yes. So I'm just taking the leftover of the trio and just with a smaller brush, just creating this beautiful flush look, I imagine, with just a clear lip gloss. She looks so healthy and refreshed. It's like you were on a vacation in Saint Tropez.
Oh, take me there, let's go.
And you came back with this gorgeous glow to you, and you're just exuding it throughout your world. I love it. Go ahead and put your chin down and just kind of look up. That allows me to get a little closer to the eye without affecting it. All right, you guys, we are so happy and excited. We're gonna stop there and come back and do a little bit of eye makeup and then just show you the reveal. So stay tuned. Okay, we are going to begin using the topical filler, which is the last thing that you're gonna do on your application. So after foundation, after cream, after concealers, after lash, brow, all the things, we're now going to remove the area that we are going to focus on using the topical filler. So 99% alcohol and a cotton swab. The goal is for this skin to be completely clean and no oils, no buildup, nothing emollient. And so that's why I'm really dousing it with the alcohol, so it's true skin. Okay, so now with the primer, because it is 99% alcohol and we are working on just each other, this is not going to be used on anybody else. I'm going to go ahead and use it directly with the brush in just that area. So as I'm applying the primer, not only is it in the area that I desire to use a topical filler, but a little bit around it as well. And it's a generous amount, which is intentional. I want that to really be absorbed and marry with the topical filler because they will work with one another. The goal is for this to really stick with the topical filler because that's what's going to give you the 36-hour wearability. So I think that's enough. How's that feel?
Like nothing.
Wonderful. Now we have our topical filler. We're going to open up the cap that protects it from drying out. If you're not using this, this needs to be on it at all times, so you have more usage of the product. Then you have your disposable mixing tips, and we're gonna go ahead and just get it on there nice and secure. So another way that you could use the topical filler is to just remove the cap and apply the products. That way they don't mix and you have more time to eventually mix them together. This would be a great way to address multiple areas of the face that you are choosing to use a topical filler for. For example, the forehead, in between the brows, or if there were pot marks around the face. That way they are not actually mixing together and you have more time to mix them. Or I'm gonna go ahead and use the actual mixing tip because this is gonna help keep it precise for the area that I'm concentrating on, and that is in between Amanda's eyebrows. So for me, I'm choosing to use the mixing tip today. All right, so here we go. Because they are gonna mix as they come out, you have very limited time to work with it, so I'm gonna have you relax your face. Some pro tips for you are to remember to not dab. This is not an emollient concealer, so you want to feather it. Think about it as working with the texture of honey. So you want it to just really settle into the area that you are filling. And another great tip is if you were to just put some on the back of your hand and wait for that to dry, that will give you the confirmation that this has been set and it's ready to go. But yeah, there's no tapping or blending or moving it around. You have minimal time to work with it, and it's really just feathering it in the area and letting it melt in and sink into the hole that you are filling. And then as you can tell right now, we have the texture pad on top. That means it's working, it's setting. So the whole point of this texture pad is to give the illusion of the silicone skin texture, and it's gonna make it look like it has real pores, and it's gonna minimize that shine that the silicone has. Another fun fact and pro tip that I'm gonna recommend to you is to not put cream foundations on top of the topical filler. Once we have removed the texture pad, we're gonna double check that the color matches. We use the medium shade, which is essentially gonna pick up all the tones around Amanda's complexion already. So there's no need to add more powder, foundation, or concealer because it's gonna look like nothing is there. I believe everybody should have confidence within their skin, within themselves, within their complexion. So coming from a background of not only freelance artistry, education, but in salon, working with everyday normal people, I also like to give them that kind of model photo shoot experience, even if it's just a haircut, a foundation, or a concealer match. So I definitely feel that feeling confident about your skin and yourself and finding the right match and the quality product that's going to help you get to that level is essential when it comes to just feeling your most true, authentic self. Thank you so much for joining us again, everybody. Andrew Velasquez with Dermaflage and Amanda Terry. We'll see you at the next show.